Hello, this is Algebra 1 going over page 189, 190. We kind of went through a lot of these in class, but we'll go speed of light if it was 186,000 miles an hour. If I wanted to make it in scientific notation, I'm going to put 1.86 times 10. Now, the reason I put the decimal there is I always have a single digit in front, followed by up to 3 decimal places behind. So my decimal was originally here, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1.86 times 10 to the fifth. Problem number 2, we have 0.036. We want to make this scientific notation, so I'm going to make it 3.6 times 10. Now my decimal has to move the other way. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So there's a -3. That indicates you're dealing with a really small decimal because you have a negative exponent. Skip number 3. Don't worry about number 3. Number 4, they just want us to pull this out of scientific notation. So this means I'm going to move the decimal right. So 1773. So this decimal goes 1, 2, 3. We didn't have to add any zeros or anything, so which is fine. Number 5, we wanted to convert 1.3 times 10 to the -2. So this means I'm going to move the decimal left. So I'm going to get, I have to add a couple of zeros. So I have 0, 1, 3. So basically I've moved 1, moved a second time to put the decimal here. So there had to be a 0 out front. And then number 6, 1.8 times 10 to the 7th power. This is going to move right. So we have to add a bunch of zeros. Okay, so ready? There's 1, because I moved right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 18 million is the same thing as 10. 1.8 times 10 to the 7th. Now we're just going to run through the answers. Let's see, the first one, I have x squared y quantity to the third. This comes to both. Power to power, you multiply the exponents. So that's going to give me x to the 6th, y to the third. Number 8, I get 2c to the third raised to the 4th. Bring this to both, so I'm going to get 2 to the 4th and c to the 12th. You could leave it as 2 to the 4th, but that's 2, 4, 8, 16. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So 16c to the 12th. But if you left it as 2 to the 4th, you'd be okay. Number 9, we have v to the -2 to the third. Well, if I multiply these, I'm going to get v to the -6, and then I have to make sure I don't want a negative exponent, so that's going to become a denominator. Number 10, I get 3b to the -2 squared, a squared b to the 4th to the third. So I'm going to distribute that here and here, so I get 3 squared b to the -4, distribute here and here, times a to the 6th b to the 12th. Okay, so 3 squared is 9. Now, you can move this down if you want, but let's realize I have a to the 6th, but if I add these right now, -4 plus 12 is 8. So regardless if you move it down and then do tug of war or you just combine them together, it's your choice. Number 11, we have 3 to the 8th squared, so I'm going to bring that to both. So I'm going to get 3 squared, 8 squared, which is 3 squared is 9, 8 squared is 64, and that won't reduce. Number 12, I get 2p over 5, and that's raised to the third. So let's make sure we bring this here, here, and here. So I'm going to get 2 to the third, p to the third, 5 to the third. And I think you can multiply those out. So 2 times 2 is 4 times another 2 is 8. P to the third stays as is. 5 times 5 is 25 times another 5 is 125. And 8 and 125 will not reduce. Number 13, I have x to the 4th over y to the 2nd, and it's raised to the 5th. Distribute those both, so multiply them. So that's x to the 20th, y to the 10th. Can't do anything because it's x and y. It's just fine as it is. Number 14, I get x to the 4th, y to the 2nd. It's raised to the -3. Okay, so let's multiply here and here. So that's going to give me x to the -12, y to the -6. Then I want to flip-flop the position. So y to the 6 moves up, becomes positive exponent. X to the -12 moves down, becomes a positive exponent, and you're all done. Number 15, x to the -1, y to the 5th. It's all to the third, so let's multiply the power of the powers. So I'm going to get x to the negative 3 on top over y to the 15th. Well, x to the negative 3 wants to move down. So I'm going to get x to the third on bottom, y to the 15th stays down there, and because everything moved down, I need to put a placeholder of 1 on top. Number 16, I'm going to get 2xy to the 5th times 3x to the y to the 4th squared. The 2 just comes down. Distribute that here and here, so I x to the 5th, y to the 5th. And then distribute here and here and here, so I get times 3 squared, x squared, y to the 8th. Now we can start combining things. Well, 3 squared is 9, right? So 2 times 9 is 18. We're going to add these exponents, so that's going to give me x to the 7th. Add those exponents, so that's y to the 13th. Problem's done. Number 17, you get x to the 4th, y to the 5th, over x to the 7th, y to the negative 2. Let's raise to the negative 3. Let's get rid of the outside exponent first by distributing it into everything. So I'm going to get x to the negative 12, y to the negative 15, x to the negative 21, and y to the positive 6. Okay, so 3 of these things want to switch spots. The y to the 6 is happy where it's at. So I'm going to get x to the 21st on top, and on bottom I'm going to get x to the 12th, y to the 15th, and then the y to the 6 stays down there. So we're going to tug of war with the x's. Who wins between top and bottom? The top wins by 9. And then we're going to combine those together, so that gives me y to the 21st. Problem number 18. I get x to the negative 2, y to the 3rd, raised to the 7th, x to the 3rd, y to the 4th, to the negative 3. Let's take care of the outside exponents first by multiplying them. So that's going to give me x to the negative 14, y to the 21st. Distribute here and here. So that's going to give me x to the negative 9, y to the negative 12th. Okay, all of these want to switch spots. The y to the 21st is going to stay up there. So we're going to be joined by x to the 9 and y to the 12. Notice the exponents changed, and x to the 14th moves down. All right, let's see. I can add those together. So I'm going to get y to the 33rd power, and then we can do tug of war with the x's. Looks like the bottom wins by 5. Number 19, you will see one of these on the quiz like this. This is, you look at it going, I have no idea how any of these symbols do anything, and that's okay. The whole thing is raised to the 0 power. Because you have the 0 power outside, the whole quantity, my answer is just going to be 1. And then number 20, we're going to have 8x to the squared, y to the 3rd, times 2x to the negative 10, y to the 11. Okay, so 8 and 2 is 16. Let's go ahead and add those together. So I'm going to get x to the negative 8. I'll add those together, so I get y to the 14th. This wants to move down, so I'm going to get 16y to the 14th on top over x to the 8 on bottom. And that's how you do all those problems. So today we're just going to be working on the next worksheet. It's going to be page 191, 192. And I'd like you to do 1 through, oh, it's kind of goofy. Okay, it's going to be 1 through 28 all. Just make note, number 28, it's like there's number 28 and there's nothing there. So look all the way back to the very thing under number 25 is where you're going to find where actual problem 28 was. Okay, hope you have a nice day. Bye.